Today, we're diving into a molecule that honestly solved a dangerous, decades-old problem for millions of people. We're talking about insulin glargine and how a really clever bit of bioengineering turned a daily health roller coaster into a smooth, predictable ride.
Okay, so let's get right into it. For the longest time, this central challenge in diabetes care came down to this one question. How in the world do you replicate what a healthy pancreas does so effortlessly? Providing that steady, continuous background supply of insulin 24/7. It's a huge ask.
So, to really get why glargine was such a game changer, we have to go back and understand the daily insulin challenge. And more specifically, we need to talk about this one big thing, the problem with peaks. And here's that problem in a nutshell. Look, older insulins, they worked, but man, they were unpredictable. They'd deliver their dose in this big spike, a peak, which created a total roller coaster effect. This put people at a constant risk of dangerously low blood sugar, which is called hypoglycemia. The goal, the holy grail really, was to get away from that chaos and get as close as possible to the smooth, steady, quiet work of a healthy pancreas.
And that brings us to the hero of our story, insulin glargine. This wasn't just another insulin they cooked up. No, this was a molecule that was specifically engineered from the ground up to solve that exact peak problem.
So what is it really? Well, insulin glargine is a man-made version of human insulin. They call it an analog. And its entire reason for being is to act as your basal or background insulin. It provides that steady, continuous level for up to a full 24 hours. It's the foundation, right? Not the quick fix you'd use after a big meal. But how does it do that? How does it achieve this incredibly long, steady action? Well, the real genius here isn't just in the molecule itself. It's what happens after it's injected. The whole secret to its 24-hour performance is, quite literally, under the skin.
Okay, this is where the magic happens. It's so cool. First, the glargine solution, which is acidic, gets injected into the neutral tissue right under your skin. That sudden change in pH triggers a reaction. It causes the insulin molecules to basically clump together into these tiny solid crystals, and these crystals form a stable little pile, or a depot. And here's the brilliant part. From that depot, the insulin just dissolves incredibly slowly and steadily into the bloodstream over the next 24 hours. It's like its own little biological time-release capsule. This amazing slow-release mechanism is what gives glargine its single most important feature, what everyone in the field calls its peakless profile. And what does that mean? It means no more dangerous spikes, no more sudden crashes, just a flat, steady, and wonderfully predictable level of insulin. In fact, the source material just says it perfectly. This flat and steady action isn't just some nice feature, it is the defining characteristic of insulin glargine. And that predictability, that's what made it so revolutionary. Okay, the science is fascinating for sure, but how does this all play out in real life? I mean, who is this for, and how do people actually use it day to day? Well, its role changes just a little depending on the type of diabetes. For people with type 1, think of glargine as the bedrock, the foundational basal insulin that provides the constant background coverage their bodies just can't make. For type 2, it's often brought in as an add-on therapy, kind of like calling in reinforcements when oral meds aren't quite getting the job done. But in both cases, the goal is exactly the same: provide that steady, reliable basal foundation. And of course, using it correctly is absolutely key. The routine is pretty simple, but it's important. It's a once-daily injection, and the big one is it has to be at the same time every day. You've got to rotate injection sites, like your abdomen, thigh, or arm, to keep your skin healthy. The dose, naturally, is always personalized by a doctor, and it comes in either vials or these really convenient, easy-to-use pre-filled pens. Now, with any medication this powerful, safety has to be the #1 priority. And there are a couple of things that every single user absolutely must know. These are non-negotiables. Before we get to anything else, there is one single, absolute #1 rule that just stands above everything else. And that rule is never mix it. Seriously, remember that acidic solution we talked about? The secret sauce that makes it all work? Well, if you mix glargine with any other insulin in the same syringe, you change its pH and you completely destroy that long-acting, peakless property. It just won't work the way it's supposed to. The magic is gone. The other critical safety point is being able to recognize hypoglycemia, or low blood sugar. Things like sweating, shaking, feeling dizzy or confused. Those are the classic warning signs. And it's so important to remember. While Glargine's peakless profile makes the risk of this much, much lower than with older insulins, the risk is never zero. It's still there. Knowing these signs is a must.
So if you're going to walk away from this with just 3 things, let it be these. 1, Glargine is all about that peakless foundation, that smooth 24-hour coverage. 2, consistency is king. Taking it at the exact same time every single day is what makes it all work. And finally, number 3, know your lows. Knowing how to spot and treat hypoglycemia is maybe the most vital safety skill of all. And that kind of brings us to a final thought. Insulin Glargine was a total revolution because its creators solved the peak problem with some seriously clever chemistry. They redesigned a molecule to behave predictably inside the human body. It really makes you wonder, right? What's the next peak problem that's being solved in a lab right now? And what will that next great breakthrough in medicine even look like?